I now call to order the March 18th, 2019 meeting of the New Caney Independent School District Board of Trustees. Current time, 6:31. Let the minutes show that a quorum is present with all members in attendance. Please rise for the invocation to be given by Ms. Harrell and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and honor the Texas flag to be led by Ms. Griffin.
Good evening, please bow your heads. Father, thank you for this day that you've given to us and the wonderful district and the community that we represent. Give us the wisdom to make good decisions for our students and the staff, and may you continue to watch over our first responders and our soldiers fighting abroad. We ask that you keep us safe as we depart and bring us back together again next month. In Jesus' name we ask, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the state of Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item 2 on the agenda is recognitions. Ms. King from Brookwood Forest Elementary is going to start us off.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to recognize some of the employees from Brookwood Forest and one of our students. I would like to start with our teacher that I wanted to recognize. Her name is Kathy Plymell. Can you step forward just a little? Ms. Plymell is a first grade teacher. She's been a part of the Caney ISD for 9 years. She truly loves her students and is one of the most positive teachers I've ever worked with. Ms. Plymell has high expectations for her students and always finds creative ways to help them excel. She teaches our students to love learning, respect others, and be responsible citizens. She inspires everyone around her because of the passion she has to make a difference in a child's life. Ms. Plymell, to the world, you may be just a teacher, but to your students, you're a hero. Next, I would like to recognize Alonda Gary. She's my registrar. Ms. Gary started as my receptionist, and then we moved her to the registrar position. She's a product of New Caney ISD and proves every day that our district does graduate students that are equipped to thrive in the reality of their future. She's always willing to help in other areas of the school when needed and has been a perfect fit for our office staff. She's professional and patient with our families and makes them feel welcome and at ease when they're enrolling their students. Ms. Gary always finds a way to get her work done and done well. Thank you, Ms. Gary, for helping take care of our students and parents. Next, we have Ms. Donna Anger. She's my head custodian, and she has worked for New Caney ISD for 14 years. I met Ms. Kamer many years ago when I was an assistant principal at Vince Branch Elementary. She's a loyal employee of our district and is extremely committed to her job. She takes pride in her work and always goes above and beyond her job responsibilities. She has an eye for decorating and has a gift for arranging furniture, wall decor, and making our offices and rooms appealing for others. Thank you for doing a great job, Ms. Kamer. And we have Ms. Marilyn Crockett. She is our cafeteria manager. She's been a part of the Caney ISD for 13 years. Our kitchen area is always super clean and organized. Our students love her because she's the food lady. Daily, she encourages our students to take and eat healthier food. Our faculty and staff love her because she gives us special treats in our lounge. And then when she tries new recipes, we always are the guinea pigs, I guess, but we usually love it. So thank you for taking care of my faculty and my staff and students with everything I do. Is our students. This is Marissa Comprada. Marissa is a 5th grade student, and this is what the teachers and the students said about her. She's a hard-working, industrious student. She excels in everything that she sets out to accomplish. Her work is always well thought out and carefully executed. She's responsible, reliable, and dependable whenever she is given a task to complete. She has diligently led her bus line all year without any need for reprimand or reminders. When given any other task, she does her best to complete it to the fullest. Friends describe her as a good citizen, thoughtful, and funny. They say that she is the nicest person you'll ever meet, even if someone is being mean. Marissa always responds to others with kindness. Congratulations, Marissa. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
We'll do that one. There we go. So
Okay, our next, Ms. Gruber out of Oakley Elementary.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. So today we're going to recognize a few people. One is not able to be here, but we're still going to read some about her as well. I'm going to start with Miss Patty McDowell. She is a 4th grade teacher at Oakley. She's a great asset to our instructional team. She's always volunteering to lend a hand and willing to step up in any situation that arises on campus. She always has the kids' best interests at heart. She attends community events to support our students on a regular basis. She was one of our UIL coaches. She was in the Rotary Spelling Bee, so you may have seen her there. And she has attended all of our campus spirit nights, so she is our biggest cheerleader. And Miss McDowell, like I said, always has our kids' best interests at heart. The next person that I'd like to recognize is Miss Melissa Jones. She is our paraprofessional. She runs our computer lab at our campus, so all of our students see her in their specials rotation. When you see Melissa on campus, you're always going to be greeted with a smile and a positive attitude. That is something that she does every day, regardless of what is happening around her. She's always willing to step up on campus. She builds great relationships with everybody she encounters, from the students to the staff. And she is also one of our leads for our campus Helping Hands Committee, so she helped to put on our chili cook-off, and what a great event it was. So thank you, Melissa. Next, I'm going to recognize one of our child nutrition staff members. This is Miss Lucia Juarez. She knows our students by name and greets them with a smile every day as they come through the line. And we have over 600 students that go through the line daily, so to be able to build relationships and know them by name is huge for her. She's always respectful and kind to others, and we're grateful to have her as a part of our team. Our custodial staff member was not able to be here today, Miss Anna Reyna. She is another member of our great team and goes above and beyond to keep the school in pristine condition for our staff and our students, so it's always ready for the best learning to take place. She's a team player, gets along with everybody, and takes pride in her work and always has a positive can-do attitude. And last but not least is Mr. David Dominguez. He is a 3rd grade student in our dual language program at Oakley. And what his friends and teachers and everybody say about him is that he is a model student that displays incredible character on a daily basis. At one point this year, we got a new student to the school, and he went above and beyond to meet him at the door each day, so until he became a part of the Oakley family and felt comfortable. And kids gravitate to him just naturally, so he's a natural born leader. He's always respectful and shows kindness to everybody. So we are proud to have David at Oakley as well.
Okay, up next is Miss Hanks from Sorters Mill Elementary.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to celebrate with you some of our outstanding staff members and students from Sorters Mill tonight. We will start first with our child nutrition employee, Miss Iris Figueroa. Miss Figueroa is a dedicated worker who's there every day. She works wonderful with her team. She serves our children with a smile every day, and we appreciate your hard work. So thank you so much for all that you do for Sorters Mill Elementary. Next, I would like to tell you about one of our outstanding custodians, Miss Rita Negrete. Rita has a wicked sense of humor. She keeps us all laughing throughout the day. She's always looking for who she can help next, and she's really proactive, and she's always looking for ways to make Sorters Mill shine. So we appreciate your big personality and keeping us laughing and your hard work every day. The outstanding instructional paraprofessional that I'd like to tell you about tonight is Miss Lucina Martinez. Miss Lucy is one of our bilingual RTI paraprofessionals. She is such a loving, caring person. She's always taking care of others. She supports our teachers in the classrooms, and she helps our struggling students. She also is creative. She makes everything in our school look beautiful. She's such a hard worker, and she goes above and beyond to fulfill any tasks she's given. So thank you for your hard work. Our teacher, Miss Brittany Hamilton. Miss Hamilton is new to our campus this year, and she has the pleasure of being our PACES teacher. So that means she has 8 students who are all rowdy little boys. She is charged with preparing and delivering TEACS-focused instruction for them to grow them academically, but she also grows them socially and emotionally. She positively shapes their challenging behavior in a firm but loving way. So her strengths are her patience and being calm in any situation. I'm so glad that you joined our team this year. I don't know what we would do without you. So thank you so much for your hard work every day. And last but not least, we have a 5th grade student. This is Nestor Aguion. And I cannot wait to tell you what his teachers have written about him. Nestor is an outstanding friend, peer, learner, and athlete. He's an all-around star student. His hard work and dedication to his learning is evident every day. As someone who constantly goes above and beyond the standard, Nestor is one that other students look up to in class. He's always been an avid learner from the first day of school, and he's shown tremendous growth in both reading and math this year. As a member of the student leadership on campus, he's able to display his respectful manners by being an influential student among his peers. Nestor is a student that when no one is looking still continues to do the right thing and model outstanding character. However, Nestor's talents extend outside of the classroom and into the soccer field. A star athlete who carries his work ethic and no excuses mentality to his outside soccer league, which is Texans US Preview Soccer Development Academy. Did I get that right? Okay. This year he competed as a striker in the 3-versus-3 soccer championship at the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex at the Walt Disney Resort, where his team won the championship. So he embodies the character traits of our school, of a No Excuses University student, both on and off the field, and is always an outstanding student. A kind smile, a genuine heart, a dedicated mind, and a helpful nature, a determined student athlete, Nestor exemplifies the values and ideas held at Sorters Mill Elementary as well as New Caney Independent School District. So congratulations.
Item 3 on the agenda is consideration of an out-of-state trip for Porter High School. DECA state officers presented by Mr. Warren.
Good evening. I'd like to say thank you again for all the support that you give New Caney ISD, CTE, and all the programs that we are so successful in. Tonight I'm representing Porter High School DECA for the next two agenda items. The first one is in reference to Gabriela Romero. She is the Porter High School executive member that has reached a state office in DECA. And that state office requires her to do some travels. She has 3 out-of-state trips over the next year that we are asking for your approval tonight. The first one is in April to Orlando, Florida. The next one will be in July to San Diego. And then the last one in November to Washington, D.C. These trips are all funded by DECA National, and there is no funds that are needed for the ISD for this travel. We requested the Board of Trustees approve the out-of-state trips for Gabriela Romero associated with her state officer duties with DECA.
Are there any other questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the out-of-state trip for Porter High School DECA State Officer?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, a vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. The motion has been approved. Item 4 on the agenda is consideration of the out-of-state field trip for Porter High School DECA. Again, Mr. Warren.
This trip is for a national qualifier, Carson Rushing, from Porter High School DECA also. She participated and competed in hospitality and tourism professional selling, and she was the High Point individual score there. So she is requesting, or we are requesting on her behalf, that she can travel to Orlando, Florida, April 25th through May 1st to participate in a competition for that event. She will be traveling with a buddy, so she doesn't travel alone, and also with the DECA sponsor, Chris Booth. Approximate cost will be $6,846. So therefore, we're requesting the Board of Trustees approve the out-of-state trip for Porter High School DECA to attend and compete in the ICDC in Orlando, Florida, April 25th through May 1st, 2019.
Are there any other questions or further discussion?
It seems unusual to have a travel buddy, so I'm just curious why in the situation we're funding a travel buddy.
We don't like for students to stay in a hotel room by themselves. And this is a female student, but we also do it for male students. We like for them to take someone to be able to stay in the hotel room with them. We don't like for them to be in the room by themselves. We usually look for a student that also competed that could gain some benefit for going on the travel tour.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip for Porter High School DECA? Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, a vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
A motion is approved. Item number 5 on the agenda is superintendent's report.
Start out today, we have Mr. Witt with us. Please step forward and look forward to your update.
Good evening. It's good to be back. We appreciate the opportunity. I do have a presentation for you. I think it's maybe on your screen. If not, I do have copies that I can hand out. Do y'all see? You can follow that screen, I think. Okay. I do have copies if you decide. Also, at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to stop. I have several different slides that I would like to cover. And so with that, we'll just go to the first one. Hopefully most people can look that way. So anyway, what you see on the screen is your historical tax rate and fund balance history in column 2. The maintenance and operating tax rate has been at $1.04 going back to 2008, 2009. In 2013-14, voters approved the increase in that rate from $1.04 to $1.17. And then in column 3, the INS tax rate was at 40 cents, 44, and then at 50 cents in 2010-11, which it's been since that time. What this means to your district is that you're maximizing the state aid programs because tax effort that's generated locally leads to the state assistance that comes from the state. And to maximize all the programs, whether it's on the general fund or the maintenance and operating side, or on the side that I deal with mostly, which is the interest and sinking fund or voted bond side, You need the tax effort, and you're doing that. It's also imperative for fast growth districts. Many of you have heard me talk about this before. You're the fastest growing yet property poor state aid district in the state of Texas. And so that presents a unique set of challenges that we have to navigate both on the maintenance and operating side and on the interest and sinking or voted bond side. So that's your tax rate history. And then in column 5 and 6 is your interest and sinking fund balance, which has been in the $4 to $5 million range over time. It's a little bit in excess of what we actually need for the management of that fund. And so at particular times you'll see that it draws down for a year or two, and then it builds back up, and then we purposefully try to draw it back down. I have a number in red here that will go from 4.1 million to 3.4. 3.4 million is a purposeful target, if you will. 15% of your overall budget in the INS fund is very, very adequate because we can generate that money each and every year. So the reason that we use that is to pay bonds off early, to pay bonds in earlier years, and to keep that fund down where it should be, but you can see the range of numbers there. And then, of course, your general fund balance, you can see that it's very healthy. We'll talk about ratings both in this presentation and the one that follows me. This is a very, very healthy district financially. It's a district that's we're very capable of taking into the investor market. We have very high credit quality and credit ratings, despite the challenges that are presented to you. And as you see, every time you go through a budget, you build a school, you have schools and so forth, you have unique challenges, and yet you've navigated that over the history of time here and have a very, very solid financial position that we look at. So with that, let's go to the next page. Your recent bond election history. Tracking this back to February 2000, and you can see that in the first column there we had a bond election in 2000, then again in 2002, then again in 2004, 2007, 2012, 15, and 18. And one of the things that's evident here is that when we forecast for a growing district that's contingent on state aid, we don't always know how much state aid we're going to get. And so we kind of bite off what we can chew as part of your bond programs. You also have had a local necessity, if you will, to kind of do it in very, very narrow and descript. Here's what we're going to do, and here's when we're going to do it. Some districts get to the point, for example, in 2012, some districts might vote $600 million and just say we're going to issue it over time. But in your community, you've been very direct with your voters. Here's what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and then when you exhaust that money and we're able to absorb it financially, then we go back to the voters for the next set of school facility needs for the children in your district. And so you can see the outcome of the voter support there. Since 2000, there's 684 million bonds and facilities that have been approved by voters. The other thing that you should note on this page is that the voter communicated INS tax rate in each of those elections we've been able to achieve. And so on many occasions we were below the projected tax rate to the voters. And then in our last 3 elections we've been at 50 cents, which is the state maximum. And of course we've had no pressure on that. We've been at that as well. So you've kept your promise to your voters in terms of the financials with respect to the bond elections. On the next page, the other thing that you've done, and I'm only going back about 6 years here, but many of you know that very often we go through bond refundings or refinancings where we're lowering the interest cost on those bonds and therefore providing interest cost savings to your interest and sinking fund. Since 2013, the net interest cost savings in the far right at the bottom has accumulated to $20.5 million of bond refinancings. That too has provided debt management tool for the issuance of new bonds as well. As you lower the borrowing cost on existing bonds, that provides bond capacity to build new facilities. So that's your bond election history. I mentioned earlier, now to the next slide, your most recent bond ratings. Of course, we sell bonds in the state of Texas with the highest credit quality in the United States, and that's the AAA rating based upon the permanent school fund guarantee. In addition to that AAA rating, the rating agencies will put an underlying standalone credit quality rating on your district. And I'm pleased to let you know that we're in the AA category with both Moody's Investor Service and Fitch Rating Service. That's a very important category because it goes AAA, AA, and then single A, and then beyond that triple B or BAA. So to be in the AA category is a big deal for us. When we sell bonds, you have an underwriter here tonight that'll talk to you about the rating category, but there is a significant borrowing savings when you reach the AA category that we would not otherwise have. I think going back to 2000, you had at least 8 bond rating upgrades between 2 credit rating agencies over that time. And again, that's very impressive because you've gone through all of this tremendous growth, which puts financial pressure on you, and yet your credit quality is improved up to the AA category. So I think it's an important milestone going forward that we remain in that AA category. And part of that is your debt management program in the INS fund, but also some of it is your general fund balance and the health of your maintenance and operating fund and so forth. And you put the community in a very good position to enter the markets. The analyst cite, as part of their reports to investors, that the district has strong growth in taxable value, strong operating performance, stable financial operations, strong enrollment growth, and they do cite, of course, that the rapid enrollment growth also leads to what? The need for additional bonds and facility plans and so forth, and that's something that we have to ongoing manage in this district as part of being a fast growth district. So with that, the next page talks about state funding. I've mentioned it on many occasions here, and that is that it's unique in that being a fast growth district, we're relying on the state assistant programs. Many of our fast growing districts not only have the housing growth and the student count growth, but they have the commercial base that goes with it. I think it's coming here, and we're going to grow out of state aid, and I'll show you that math in just a moment. But over the past 10 years, through pretty explosive growth, we've been relying on state aid, and not all of the state aid programs are guaranteed. For example, the 2 that apply to voted bonds are the instructional facility allotment and the existing debt allotment. The instructional facility allotment is application-based. We've had 7 awards. These occur after the election. And so we go into the elections not knowing if we'll receive the instructional facility allotment, but we've had 7 awards. The existing debt allotment is timing-based, and at the bottom of this page, the bottom line is the state's paying approximately 20% of your current principal and interest payments in your INS fund. And so that's a number that has decreased over time as our tax base has grown faster than our student count. But it is something that's very important to us in the near term as we work through the $200 million that the voters approved here recently. On the next page are some statistics, and I'll spare you the detail. I don't think anyone wants the hour-long workshop that we've done before, but this page, if you'll just look to the far right column, in column 6, all we do is take your tax base and divide it by your number of students, and it comes up with a wealth per student, tax base per student. And statistically, the state will fund a district whose tax base per student in column 6 is below $35, okay? And so we've been below that, but you can also see that as your tax base has grown in column 2 from $1.6 billion to $4.3 billion, you've actually got less and less percentage state aid over that time because they're treating you as if your tax base can help you more. We're currently going to be around $30 of wealth per student in 1920. And as the column 3 growth in your taxable value is in the double digits, like 13% this year, and your student count is in the single digits in column 5 in the 2 to 4% range, then you're eventually going to grow out of that wealth equalization and state assistance unless they do one thing, and that's continue to increase the statistic from $35 to $40, from $40 to $45, and so forth. So when you look at this, eventually when you look out here at the road infrastructure and the commercial base, it's very likely that you'll continue to receive less and less percentage of state aid, and at some point in this district, we're going to be relying on our tax base driving our bond capacity. Unless they give us some relief in tax rate, and it's currently at 50 cents, which is the maximum, so that's set in stone for us. On page 8 is the historical statistics. And the bottom line is over the past 5 years, your tax base has grown at 12% on average. Your student count on the last 5 years has grown at 4.5%. And we're currently at that level in your tax base in the 12% range. Your student count, at least temporarily, is closer to the 2.5% range. And so that's where we are. Now you have a demographic study coming. That's what we'll use to gauge where we go from here. It's important to me financially, but it's far more important to you to build the spaces that you need to educate the children that are here and the ones that are coming. So with that, on the next page, the preliminary bond program analysis, just a quick update there. The voters approved $200 million. The plan was to issue that over a 4-year period, utilizing approximately 7 years of growth. We used an assumed interest rate of 4.25%. Your first bond sale of $60 million has a coupon interest rate of 3%, so we're well below budget there. The yield to the investor was actually in the 2% range. So again, we're under budget with respect to the interest cost on the first $60 million. We're on target with the taxable value. We're slightly below the average daily attendance growth projection. The $35 of wealth equalization is actually $36 and change, so we're doing better there. And then, of course, the INS fund balance we need to draw down, and we purposely use that. And so the last page is just a picture of that, where we stand today. When you look at the graph, the bars are level, straight across, right around the $21 million payment. The amount that we generate is $21 million in column 1. The bars are right around $27 million flat. And so as we grow in tax base and student count, that's where we get bond capacity to issue the next $60 million on top of that. And you'll also see a declining payment amount of the light blue and the light green. That's this declining state aid. So I'm projecting right now in 2023, unless something changes with the funding formulas, we will probably have grown out of the state aid program and just be talking about tax-based growth as being the projector for how much bond capacity we have. And you can see some fading payments out on the long end of your bond payment. And so that's where we are. As I tell the administration all the time, I'm not worried about us getting through this one. I always worry about the next one and what the future holds. There's always those challenges before us. But right now we're on target with what we told the voters and with the debt issuance plan for the $200 million, with the $60 million being under budget and the next $60 million coming to you shortly. So with that, I'll answer any questions about where we are with respect to the bond program. And I appreciate your patience on the speed. I'm narrowing it down to this short time period.
You did good.
You did good. Any questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the information, sir.
Next, we'll have from Oppenheimer Investment Firm, Dan Rosenberg.
Thank you. Actually, I have books too, but I think it's already queued up. This one doesn't say draft across, so that's good. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Franklin, and guests, what we wanted to do is give you some information just as a precursor. Doug Witt's excellent municipal advisor that helps you with your structure and so forth. We just want to talk very high level on the bond pricing itself. So what we use as an example is your last transaction that we did for you back in 2018. And I'll go through this rather quickly, but please feel free to stop me any. You know, not being, hear me better now? Okay.
It's about time.
That's right. So if you go ahead and turn to page 2, this is the sample presentation that we're just taking a look at to walk you through the example process. That's on the next slide. And so this outlines the different major players in your transaction. Obviously, Doug from Samco helps structure your tax rates, your bond structure, and all that. Norton Rose Fulbright, your bond counsel. We were your senior managing underwriter. Wells Fargo's Co. and Underwriters Council is represented by Anders Kirk. And as you said before, Moody's and Fitch both gave her ratings. Turn to the next page on page 3. That on the left is the preliminary official statement. It's a big document. It's about like that thick that is used to convey the intricacies of the school's finances out to the general market. On the right-hand side is a copy of what we ultimately ended up with, the final cover of the OS. A lot of components come up. We can turn to page 4. There's a lot of components that enter into an interest rate calculation and ultimately is delivered to you. But for the most part, it focuses on credit ratings. And as Doug mentioned before, it's kind of like a teeter-totter. So the higher your credit rating, which you have a very strong credit rating, the lower your interest costs ultimately, and then the lower you pay in property tax, your constituent split in property taxes. The key factors are administrative, debt, economic base, financial analysis, and tax structure. On page 5, this is just a matrix of all the different ratings. You'll see Moody's on the left, Standard & Poor's and Fitch. Moody's and Fitch are the ones that are actually give your rating. As Doug mentioned before, you have a AA3, AA-. Very strong given your current situation and the amount of growth you've been able to endure successfully. On page 6, the next one is the Moody's copy of the rating report. And on page 7 and 8 is Fitch. As Doug mentioned before, there's a lot of information that goes into these analysis. But I think the key takeaway is that your strong credit ratings are based on the district's strong operating performance. On page 9, I know we're going through this quickly, but I want to make sure your time constraint was matched. This is the holistic kind of bond pricing process where we use the credit rating to communicate to the actual investment community itself. We go ahead and we post the document called the preliminary official statement. We have a lot of internal calls and go through a review and comps or like comparable issues out there. For example, this week there's a number of sales. We have one in the market and we're looking at 4 other transactions to compare against with their credit rating and so forth to offer up the best interest rate we can for that particular client. Step 5 is we do a pre-pricing call with the whole group. And then we send out rates on our preliminary wire. And I'll show you that in just a second. And then we go ahead and finalize the pricing. You adopt the bond purchase agreement, and then obviously there's a delivery of funds. On page 10 is an example of the preliminary underwriting wire. And it gives indications of where the interest rates are and then how much principal amount. You can see there it was like 60 million, coupon of 3 and 220. And so it gives more indications about a lot of legal information. One of the other things besides your credit ratings and your individual economic base is just the market itself. So if you turn to page 11, that's the draft presentation doesn't have anything, but your hard copies do. It talks about the overall market and where we are. And actually, if you skip down to on 14, interest rate forecast, the effective Fed funds rate is 240. Long-term interest rates like 30-year debt that you atypically sell, and like other school districts around the state, is actually at an all-time low. And so you see that 4th bullet point, according to Bloomberg, as of March 8, the market's anticipating a 0% chance of rate hike on the March 20th meeting. So there's not a lot of those interest rates set the standard for everything else as it's benchmarked out. Page 15 in your booklet, it's actually the investor demand is based off of who's investing at what times. So you can see at the top, there's retail investors on the bar that shows it all the way through from the short all the way to 30 years. But they have specific points in time that they really focus on. Bank trust departments, the first 10, money managers all the way up to 20 years. But we use that as a catalyst to be able to hard target specific investors for that particular bond issue that you're going ahead and going out with. On page 16, this represents the total bond orders versus the amount of principal. On the dark blue is the principal amount, and the light blue is the bond orders, the bar graph. You had 2046 through 2015 maturities. That's where your principal is paying off from that last bond sale. And so, as you can see, you almost got $230 million worth of orders for only about like $59 million or about $60 million in bonds. So that's kind of like demand runs the gamut. So I mean that's a good thing. You always want more orders than not. On the next page is just a dissection of the specific syndicate, both us and Wells Fargo. The number of orders on the dark blue and allotments, and like how much orders each person filled and so forth, and where it came in. On page 18, this is the final underwriting mark. You'll notice that as some things changed, obviously the par amount is $59 million. Now instead of 60, the coupon remains the same at 3, but the actual yield is only at 217 versus what it was before. So with that number of orders and your financial advisors help, we're able to see where the rates ended up. And then ultimately, what you ended up with was overall lower interest rates. On page 19 is the orders and allotments of bond investors. These are the different firms that turned in orders and received your bonds on the last transaction, in which ultimately that marketing to them directly helped lower that interest rate for you. And the next two slides are just about the individual firms, how that played out. I'm going to turn the fire hose off, and hopefully I can if you have any questions and ask through the process. But there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of, I would say, like how you make the sausage. It's not always pretty, but it ultimately gets a really good result for you guys. And we're here to assist your financial advisor in trying to track the most cost-effective rate for you guys. That's it.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, facility planning update, Mr. Calvin.
Thanks, sir. Specifically tonight, we're going to talk about our middle schools and how we're going to handle some things with them moving forward. First of all, I want to talk to you about the Kiefer project. As you know, part of Bond 2018 was replacing that campus. And so a group of us met for spring break. Just kind of talked about how we wanted to do that, what we felt about the current name. And typically what we do when we name the campus is we work with the developer to name it, something similar to the area that's going to. Well, Kiefer, there's a lot of history to that building. When we did the facility study back before the bond program, a lot of individuals walked that building and had some very fond memories of it. And so we felt keeping the Kiefer name was a way to have a great new facility while keeping tied to our past, because most of our middle schools and elementaries moving forward are with new developments. And so that group thought it's very important for us to keep our roots in mind, know where we came from while moving forward at the same time. So with that particular project, it was that group's recommendation and thought that we keep the Kiefer name in place moving forward as we replace that campus in the 2018 bond program. So with that said, what do we do with the rest of the middle schools? A little bit of history here. When the 6th grade campus was here, that's when we went to Eagles and Spartans on either side. The middle schools that fed the high schools. If I go to Porter, I'm a Spartan in middle school, then I'm a Spartan in high school. Same thing on the New Caney side. Great at the time, to bring unity and just camaraderie and traditions. However, it limits your flexibility moving forward. Y'all know, we've seen that map on my wall. You look at zoning and things like that. It's a huge puzzle, and so we need all the flexibility we can get. And so we talked about it. I met with the middle school principals, Dr. Weatherly and Ms. Schaffner. We think that it would be a great recommendation to have our middle schools have their own colors and their own mascots. And so the plan for that would be in 2021, we would get new colors, new mascots at Woodridge and White Oak. And that's mainly driven by the fact that the Woodridge edition will open in So that's a good transition done there. And then 21, Kiefer and New Caney. And again, mainly because that's when the new Kiefer campus opens. And, you know, if you think about everything those logos are on at that school, that's a lot of things that has to touch. And so being able to do some of that with startup costs from the facilities, from bonds and everything, that's one of the main drivers right there. And just from a planning aspect, is that something that Brandy and her team has to take into account in developing a budget of all the things that's going to touch that year when we change it. So that's the plan right now. Now, how are we going to do that? That's probably the better question here. And what we felt was best is have some small groups on each one of those campuses, come up with some options. You know, they're the ones that are going to just, you know, brainstorm 50 options here, whatever they want it to be. Those groups narrow it down to 3, and then take it to the students and staff for a vote. And what we felt as far as students was, you know, current 7th graders are going to be 8th graders, they would vote. 6th graders are going to be 7th graders, they would vote. And then 5th graders from the elementary that feeds that middle school, they would vote. So those students that are going to be on that campus, they have some ownership in what they pick, and colors and mascots, establishing those new traditions moving forward. Like I said, there's a lot that has to touch. It's kind of mind-blowing once you actually start realizing it. And so we'll have to finalize this by late fall 2019 for the first 2, and late fall 2020 for Kiefer and New Caney. So that's just kind of our recommendation moving forward with the middle schools, going back to those individual colors and mascots to give us flexibility. And then from the Kiefer standpoint, we just felt that was a great way to kind of pass in the future moving forward on that campus. So be happy to answer any questions on that if you got them at this point. Otherwise, that's kind of the plan moving forward for middle schools. Thank you.
I will mention, as we go to the 3rd comprehensive high school, we'll also have a process in place for the naming as well as the colors and mascot for that. So we do have that in mind too. We just want to focus on those. We do have the idea that we've got a 3rd comprehensive high school coming on board too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Item number 6 on the agenda is open forum. The board will now hear comments from those persons who have signed up to speak. We have 2 tonight. I'm going to read the open forum statement, and then we'll start with Ms. Moore. So I'm going to read the open forum statement. The board encourages comments from citizens and district or employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or representative of a group, may do at this time. The board asks that the comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 5 minutes. Remember, the board may not discuss any issues that are not posted on the agenda. If an issue mentioned is listed on the agenda, the board will defer discussion until an appropriate time during this meeting. In addition, the board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure at the lowest administration level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaint and concern. The policies are available at the district website. So, Ms. Moore?
I will behave and
we got officers, don't worry.
I have a handout. May I approach? Sure.
Yes.
I realize I have a time limit, so I'll do it in lightning speed, I promise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Real quickly, my purpose for being here is to discuss some board policies, or more particularly, the plain language of board policy in relation to what is actually occurring in practice. And in full disclosure, I just want to share that I am seeking and pursuing specific enforcement of the plain language of board policy as is written. I'm not trying to change anything whatsoever. What I have on the second page are terms of art in school parlance that I believe we all can agree to. When we refer to a high school or something occurring in high school or something occurring in middle school, that connotes a certain grade level. If I speak of something in high school, that's referring to grades 9 through 12. Again, just some elementary terms here, but it's relevant in the context of the provisions that I want to share with you. When we speak of high school credits, that loaded phrase and all that entails, again, that's undisputed what we mean by that. Weighted averaging, again, another term of art. Honors seems to be used interchangeably with pre-AP advanced courses, AP courses. Academic subject and academic area. I noticed in reading a number of board policies, that typically is regarded as a very broad category. When you speak of an academic subject or academic area, you're talking mathematics, you're talking science, you're talking foreign languages. If I speak of U.S. world history, that is a specific course in the academic area of social studies. Transfer student, transfer credit. Again, terms of art. When you speak of a transfer student, we're talking about a lateral move from one college to another, from one high school to another. So all of these terms, again, are relevant in the context of the specific provisions that I want to point out real quick. There are 3 in the online board policy manual that I've specifically cited here, and there are 2 additional in the 2018-2019 high school course description. And what I've laid out in my handout here is basically what those provisions state, what my scenario is, and what the actual practice is. So in a nutshell, real quick, the first one essentially states that students shall receive high school credit for, or rather, shall receive weighted averaging for courses for which they receive high school credit. Of course, we're looking at just that statement in a vacuum. I understand that. But in relation to my daughter, despite the mandatory shall, she is not receiving weighted averaging for a course for which she received high school credit. The second one states that a student shall receive weighted averaging for a course for which they received high school credit prior to grade 9. It is a specific middle school provision, I will call it. And again, it states mandatory shall. And once again, my daughter is not receiving weighted averaging for that one specific course for which she has received high school credit. And go on to the high school handbook. The handbook offers a little more specificity. It further bolsters the board regulation on middle schools. But in the high school handbook, it specifically, again, reiterates that a student that has received high school credit prior to grade 9 shall receive weighted averaging. It specifically states all courses they shall receive weighted averaging, with 2 exceptions. There's one exception in an English class, and there's 3 exceptions as it relates to social studies. In my case, my daughter's class, involves a foreign language. And for purposes of the analysis here, we're talking about at the time in which my daughter has completed 8th grade. She has not yet attended grades 9 through 12 at all. So she is a middle school student that has taken honors algebra 1 in 8th grade, for which she has received weighted averaging. But for her foreign language, classical language class, she has not. And again, it states...
1 minute left.
Okay, it states, so why is she not receiving weighted averaging? Apparently, it relates to the specific, more high school specific regulations that I've pointed out here. And it states that students who transfer from an accredited high school, advanced courses taken in another accredited high school. She's not a transfer student. She hasn't taken any classes in an accredited high school. And it goes on further here. The third excerpt from the policy online speaks of transfer credits, AP courses specifically. And then finally, I've laid out the actual events relating to my daughter. And what I am seeking again is specific performance-specific enforcement as it relates to the plain language here. And I'm seeking a vote from the board to allow my daughter an opportunity to receive weighted averaging for her foreign language class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mr. Gaddis. Again, you'll have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, honorable members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the new Caney ISD Police Department, and in particular Chief Troy Wood, He demonstrated a knowledge and an application of the law that eliminated a serious situation that put this district in great jeopardy. Some very well-intentioned, but very, very misguided employees in this district have taken upon themselves to engage in street closures and directing traffic over which they had no authority. What they had done is they got into the streets, they'd taken janitorial carts, blocked the street, had used party cones like you would find at a child's birthday party to block the street, and they made homemade signs to direct traffic. These are all contrary to the law. The Texas Transportation Code is very specific. Any such sign is a public nuisance and must be removed by the local authority. But more importantly, in a more dangerous situation than that, was the school crossing guards were actually directing traffic in the street, not in a crosswalk. The federal government, the Federal Highway Administration, issues guidelines. And these guidelines are universally accepted by every state in the union. Texas has incorporated those guidelines under the Texas Transportation Code, and it's referred to as the Texas Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And tell you how you're going to do everything. The color of your signs, the color of your cones. If you're in a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone, you have to have an 18-inch cone. If you're on a freeway, you got to have a 24-inch cone. And so it makes it universal for all of us. But when it comes to the school children and crossing guards, there are two aspects we have to be concerned with. One is traffic control and one is traffic direction. Traffic control is responsibility of the school crossing guard. Universally, all training programs tell the crossing guards they're to stand on the curb, wait for a gap in the traffic, step off the curb when there's a gap with a paddle stop sign, hold it up to stop traffic to indicate the presence or near presence of people, children in the crosswalk. Once the children get across the street, they're to drop the paddle and do nothing else. Traditionally, training says you're not even to tell the people you're free to go now. That's traffic control. The other issue is traffic direction. The manual is very clear. It says, adult crossing guards shall not direct traffic in the usual law enforcement regulatory sense. It's in a nutshell. If you want somebody to direct traffic in the street, tell them to go turn left, go right, you have to have a police officer to do that. Now, understanding, it may be desirable to have a police officer at some locations, but we have to differentiate between the role of the crossing guard and that of the police. Ultimately, the liability for this district is too extreme. I would suggest that in those areas where you do need traffic control and you do not have the resources within the district, many of these neighborhoods have contract deputy programs, and they hire off-duty officers to patrol their communities. Reach out to them and ask if possibly check by the school, and where necessary, direct traffic for 15 minutes in the morning to help out. The main thing is everyone has a role. This board has a responsibility to protect this district from liability. But again, the main reason I'm here tonight is to explain or to commend Chief Wooten for his application and knowledge of the law. I thank the board for their time.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, Mr. Gaddis. Item 7 on the agenda is closed meeting. The board will now meet in closed meeting under the authority of Texas Government Code 551.074 for the purpose of personnel matters, Government Code 551.071 for attorney consultation, and Government Code 551.072 for deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Any action as a result of the closed session discussion will take place after the board reconvenes in open meeting. The time is 7:31. The board ended the closed meeting at 8:27 p.m. and now will convene an open session. Item 8 on the agenda is reports and proposals from board members. Are you
Craig, Wendy, and I went to the TASB Legislative Conference with Mr. Franklin. We heard about updates going on this session, and we feel excited, optimistic that education funding seems to be a top priority, so we remain optimistic here. Do you have any other takeaways?
I would say, we met with pretty much every one of our representative senators, the House side. I can't encourage you more than to let them know how important this is for education, for our kids, our teachers. I think there's still a lot of distance between the two. You can review both plans and say, I think it's House Bill 3 and Senate Bill 2, I believe. Look at both plans and contact your legislators and share with the other your staff and everyone. It's very important to contact the representatives and let them know this is important. Very important.
Okay.
I have one more item. It was separate from the legislative conference, though. I got to come to the Films on the Field a couple weeks ago, and I just want to say how great it was. And I saw so many of y'all out here, like, working and greeting people. I thought it was a really great community event, like, from the outreach online and getting people excited to opening up our facility and having people come in. Like, it was an awesome event. Just a great opportunity to showcase what we're doing here.
Item 9 on the agenda is consideration of consent calendar, consisting of consideration of minutes, consideration of finance report, consideration of purchasing report, consideration of personnel report, consideration of local policy update 111. Are there any questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, a vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion has been approved. Item 10 on the agenda is consideration of approval to award the construction contract for transportation, parking, and site renovation project 872-2015 to Joslin Construction Bond 2015, presented by Mr. Calvin.
Yes, sir. Just before we go on to this one, just a quick reminder, whenever we bid something out, it is not just based on price alone when we award stuff. For instance, on the transportation contract, it's like grade school. Closer to 100, you get the better. So like price is worth 50, things like experience and reputation are worth 15, quality of goods, references, all those things are included in a decision when we award a contract to somebody. That's true on the construction side, that's true in JW's department. Any bid we do, there's more than just price that goes into consideration when we do that. So just wanted to lay that out there with this particular one, and then just in general moving forward. But yes, tonight we are here to recommend Joslin Construction for the transportation facility improvements for the Bond 2015.
Are there any other questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the award contract for transportation, parking, and site renovation project 872-2015 Joslin Construction Bond 2015? Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, a vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is approved. Item 11 on the agenda is in consideration of the approval to award the construction contract for asbestos abatement Antique Lane Abandoned House Project 872-2015A to Inland Environment on 2015, presented by Mr. Calvin.
Yes, sir. There was a house on that property we purchased for that transportation expansion and did all our environmentals, and we do have to have the abatement process done. Inland Environmental is the company we recommend doing that service for us.
Are there other questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to award construction contract for asbestos abatement Antique Lane Abandoned House Project 872-2015A to Inland Environment Bond 2015? The motion has been moved and seconded. There will be no further discussion. A vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion has been approved. There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:32. Pause.